Greetings, all you gorgeous garden gnomes. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. In today's video, we're going to go over how much food you might be able to expect to grow at home. So our season for growing and harvesting fresh produce is over, so I thought it would be a great time to give you a rundown of how much food we grew and also discuss how much food you can expect to grow at home. This year was definitely not without its challenges. First, I had to have a surgery on my hip, and then we were hit by a massive hailstorm that really decimated most of our crops. However, it is only in sorrow bad weather masters. In joy, we face the storm and defy it. This season still offered plenty of crops and great achievements. One of those achievements was starting the free market. This is a similar concept to a farmer's market, but people are able to bring their homegrown produce, homemade goods to share and trade with the rest of the community. So there's an emphasis on sharing and trading and less of an emphasis on trading currency for goods. Going through the crops that we grew this year and the yields that we had, I'm going to discuss them in terms of land efficiency and overall yields, and as well as how much money they would cost to purchase at a local grocery store. This year we grew potatoes, carrots, lettuce, peas, onions, garlic, leeks, kale, spinach, turnip, raspberries, broccoli, and we also got to harvest garlic scapes. Overall, our land efficiency, so in terms of pounds per square meter, was 3.6. And surprisingly, kale was our top producer. We only planted about 1 square meter. However, our kale produced over 8 pounds of produce. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to eat 8 pounds of produce, but it is definitely an endeavor. Our favorite varieties of kale are the dwarf blue curled kale and the lacinato dinosaur kale. The curled kale we use to make salads and to turn into kale chips. Our next top crop was potatoes. We grew 43.6 pounds in total between two different methods of growing potatoes. One was in ground and the other was in grow bags, which is a very popular method of growing potatoes all over the internet and on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, search potato grow bags, and there are probably hundreds, thousands of videos on doing that. In terms of land efficiency, the potatoes sit in second place for us at 6.2 pounds per meter squared. Going forward, I don't think that I'm going to grow potatoes in bags again. They just required too much water for me to keep up with. Our next crop were carrots, and are somewhat of a new addition for us this year. We grew some last year with mixed results, but this year we grew 5 rows of carrots in ground, which resulted in a land efficiency of 5.5 pounds per square meter. Our lettuce and spinach both produced really well for us. We grew spinach in early spring and then transitioned into lettuce late spring and into summer. As for varieties, I'm a huge fan of all spinach, but the lettuce champion for this year was definitely the Little Gem Romaine. If you love Caesar salads, Little Gem Romaine is a great crop and produces relatively quickly, so you can continue to plant and harvest multiple times. From the lettuce, we got a total of 15 pounds, while the spinach produced 10 pounds. However, their land efficiencies were the same at 5 pounds per square meter. Next up are our onions, and we grew these in one of our raised beds which produced 12.7 pounds with a land efficiency of 4.2. We did not give the onions an optimal chance to produce, as the raised bed that they were planted in was a little bit too close to our house and didn't receive enough sunlight. However, the overall harvest was still pretty good, and we were excited to be able to harvest that many onions. Our garlic produced almost as much in terms of weight as their allium cousins, the onions. However, even with the weight of harvested crops, their land efficiency was less than half of the onions. I think that this came down to one major thing, which was that the spacing was just not close enough to pack in enough of the plants together. Peas are a staple crop for us. Our favorites are snap peas and snow peas. They don't produce a lot in terms of land efficiency. However, they are a spring crop and can be grown and harvested and removed in time for summer crops to go into the ground. So also being a legume, peas have the ability to work with beneficial bacteria in our soil to sequester nitrogen and fertilize the ground. So we can plant peas in spring, allow them to sequester nitrogen and fertilize the soil. And then once we're done harvesting the peas, we can take the plants out, and hopefully the ground has been fertilized with enough nitrogen that we don't have to amend the soil as much as we would. Turnips were another new addition to the backyard farm that I didn't quite set up for the best success. I had started the seeds in a seed tray with intentions of transplanting once the potatoes were harvested. That didn't exactly happen, and they stayed in the seed trays a little bit longer than they would have liked. I still think that I'll use the same method and start the turnip seeds in seed trays next year. However, I will make sure to do a better job at getting them into the ground when they need to be. With our raspberries, I tried to do a little experiment this year. So last year, instead of cutting down all the canes, I left quite a few to see if we could get a double crop this year. We did get a double crop. However, the second year growth that produced the early flush of raspberries didn't produce the best quality of raspberries. They were smaller, they were a little bit more bitter. So going forward, I will be cutting down all the canes at the end of every season and only harvesting from the first year growth. Leeks were a new crop for us for this year. It was a lot of fun to grow them, and they grew really well. And we did get to harvest some and share them with the community at our free market, as well as eat some in a delicious potato and leek soup that I made. Unfortunately, the leeks were lost to that hailstorm. So we only got about 1 pound and used up about half of our raised bed to grow them. So it wasn't a great yield. Had we not have had that storm, we would have harvested a lot more. Our honorable mentions for this season were broccoli, cauliflower, corn, and pole beans. For the broccoli and cauliflower, we did manage to harvest a few heads, though the cauliflower were quite small, and I'm not entirely sure why that was, but it could have come down to transplant timing. Our corn and pole beans that we were growing together did succumb a little bit to the hailstorm. However, we still managed to harvest some of the blue corn and some of the blue cocoa beans, which we will be using to plant next year. So we don't have weights for those just because we're not planning on eating those. So in total this season, we grew a little over 171 pounds of produce, and that saved us roughly $513, which I know doesn't really sound like a lot, but in these times where everything is so much more expensive and every dollar really counts, that $513 has really been helpful in terms of allowing us to pay other bills and to put some into savings. If you're interested in a deeper dive into some academic research of urban farms and home garden production, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Liking, subscribing, and sharing our content is an excellent way to help support us, and it's free. I also have been reading every comment and replying, which I know at this point is not a huge endeavor, but it's something that I am committed to keeping up. So please leave your comments below. Let us know where you grow your zone, how much space you have, and how much you have been able to harvest. And I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Have a great day.